welcome to yet another episode of Pet Pals. I'm, as always, Bethany Davidson, the humane educator here at Frederick County Animal Control and Pet Adoption Center. And wrangling for us is our volunteer coordinator, Sean Snyder. And, normally I introduce you guys to a lot of dogs, but it is kitten season, and that a lot of cats are leaving the building, but they're all kittens. And sadly, a lot of our great adult cats are just getting overlooked. People aren't even asking to see them. So I really wanted to take some time and showcase some of those guys. And the first one that we have for you today is Gertrude. And she's a relatively recent addition to our adoption floor, but already like top tier volunteer favorite. She's a senior cat at 8 years old, and she is FIV positive. We've talked about FIV positive cats on the show before. We have, in recent years had, adopted out about a dozen or so. It doesn't require any special treatment. You just want to make sure that you're, keeping her in good health, getting her regular vet visits, because it's the secondary infections that are really going to cause an issue for Gertrude because she's immunosuppressed. But she is 100% a lap cat. And because of her FIV positive status, all the volunteers have to interact with her first thing before they touch any other animals. So it's just one comes in, they finish, another one comes in, they're on top of it, Gertrude's with them, then boom, boom, boom. And she loves it. She just soaks it all up. As you can see, she's a lap cat, which a lot of people are looking for. And she's like indiscriminately a lap cat. Like she doesn't know you. You open the cage, boom, she's on your lap. So she's very friendly, very confident. Really loves attention, and is definitely going to do well in any household. We don't have any restrictions for her in terms of, the types of children that she can live with. Lots of FIV positive cats do live with other cats because you're mostly concerned about, deep bite wounds and things like that. And that's how it transmits. So it's not really a concern that she's going to spread that to other cats. But she definitely has to maintain her status as an indoor only cat. Because not only is she FIV positive, but she's also front declawed. So she really doesn't have a way to defend herself if she were to get outside.
So you had mentioned that a potential adopter doesn't need to do anything to manage her FIV. However, she does have a secondary medical concern that may need some intervention.
Exactly. If you look at her, her ears are kind of folded down, and could be tons of reasons for that. If she was a stray, how long she was outside, fights, different infections, medical reasons. It would all just be speculation as to why her ears are folded over. But because of that, it makes it a lot harder for her to keep them clean and things like that. So she will need regular ear cleanings. It's not, it's something that you could do at home. But if you're not managing and making sure that her ears are staying clean and healthy, then she could end up with some ear infections, which would require then, medication and things like that, and could be, obviously uncomfortable for her. So just helping her out in that way is really the biggest concern for her. And then obviously as a long-haired cat, she's going to need a little bit more grooming and brushing, maintenance and things like that. But she's definitely become a superstar in a very short time here on our adoption floor. And hopefully as quickly she'll find her way into a loving forever family. If you're interested in being that family, you can go to visit fcac.as.me to start that process. Our next cat is a little bit younger at 3 years old. This is Razzle Dazzle. And like a lot of our cats, she came to us also as a stray. And, she is also, lap cat status. I walk by and she's right in the front cages where people are walking by all day. And I'm going through and volunteers sitting there and she's just totally relaxed, sitting on laps, kind of antagonizing the cats around her. Like, hey, I'm over here on a lap and you're not. There's a mother-daughter team that kind of come in and they sit next to each other and they both have cats out on the lap. So I think, because she has been, close to those other cats and not necessarily in the cage, but on a lap, I think she would do well in a home with other cats. Initially, she was a little bit shyer, but the longer she's out on the cat floor, the more she's opening up and coming to the front, and you're not having to kind of coax her out. She's just ready to get attention, but not in that kind of like obnoxious, I'm constantly grabbing at you way. So she's definitely super, super friendly. we haven't had any issues with her. She can be a little wiggly, they say, when picking her up, but I think when you carried her in, she seemed pretty comfortable. So a lot of those things when we're doing these behavior assessments are when they're first made available for adoption. So they're still a little uncertain of the environment, a little unsure of us. So take these things with a grain of salt. They can be helpful, but the animal's behavior can change as they get more and more comfortable in this environment. And, she's basically, your typical cat. She's curious, but she's also affectionate. She wants to hang out with you, but also she's like, actually, I need some time by myself. So she's like your normal average cat. And she's also recommended for children of any age.
So Razzle Dazzle was recently spayed here at the shelter, which also means she was given a tattoo. Why is that?
That's right. So we spay and neuter all of the cats, dogs, and rabbits that come into our facility. And depending on the facility, some, all of the animals that get altered get tattooed. But here in our facility, we only do the females. And that is to give a permanent way to tell if the animals have been altered. When animals come in, we do shave them looking for spay scars or tattoos. And sometimes it can be very challenging to find those scars, especially if the animals were spayed at a very young age, like, the 10 to 12-week-old kittens that we do sometimes. Those incisions are going to be much smaller. As they grow, they're going to get even smaller. So it's hard to identify. The tattoos are always there. They're a very visible, easy reminder to say, yes, this animal is altered. And that's what we do for indoor animals. If you're talking about, outdoor cats, a lot of them, as we've discussed before, get ear-tipped, which is a more visual notice from a distance that the animals have been altered. So it's just kind of a way to make it so that we don't inadvertently try to spay an animal that's already been spayed and put them through that kind of unnecessary surgical procedure. But, she has already been spayed, which means that her process to get into a forever home is going to be much quicker because we don't have to wait to get her on that surgical schedule. If you are interested in making Razzle Dazzle part of your home and family, you want to go to visit fcac.as.me to start the process by meeting her. And even still a little bit younger, but older than the kittens that are making their way out the door here at Animal Control is Croy. And he's one of our 1-year-old male cats. And, oftentimes it can be hard for black cats because there's not a lot of things, in terms of, they're just their visual that stand out, especially in like the dark stainless steel cages and things like that. But what really stands out with Croy is his personality. He's a very outgoing cat. Like from the jump when he arrived, he's been outgoing, he's been friendly. As you can see, he's easily manipulated with some churu, which is always great, right? He's gonna love you if you give him a good tasty snack. He is one of the cats that people want to carry around their cat and hold their cat, and he likes to be held. In fact, if you put him back in the cage after you've been holding him for a while, he's like grabbing at you. No, I don't want to go back in there. Yesterday I tried to put him back in and I was like, here, let me just put the front half of you in and you can walk in. He was like, no, I'm not ready to do that yet. But he's also very curious and very playful, and he's going to definitely bring a lot of life to a household, but also a ton of affection. I haven't necessarily seen him sitting on laps other than right now, but again, he is comfortable being held and carried around, and is a really affectionate guy. And, he too has already been neutered, so he's ready to go home. He's just waiting for that family to come in and decide, yes, this is the right guy for me.
So you mentioned so many great qualities about him, but sometimes people want to also know, how does he get along with other cats?
Well, he came in with a lot of other cats. He came in with a bunch of lady cats and some kittens in a box. So we're like, we don't know if he just took up with all these ladies or if they were all his sister wives. There were some kittens in the box. We don't know who the kittens actually belonged to because all the female cats were nursing the kittens. And they were just kind of a little bit of a hot mess of a situation. We couldn't really identify what was going on. So they named them after the Real Housewives of Atlanta because they were a hot mess, and it's Hotlanta, right? So Croy is one of the husbands from the Real Housewives of Atlanta. And then all of the ladies that he came in with, you can identify because they have similar names. So it's Cherie and Joyce and Candy. All of those kittens that came with them have obviously since been adopted, but all of these fantastic cats, adult cats, are still waiting to be adopted. And many of them have similar temperaments to Croy. So if you're looking for a female cat, the others are, you can pick them up. I saw a volunteer holding Cherie the other day, and she was kind of like flopped upside down. Cherie's also been on the show before. They're very vocal in that they ask for attention. They are just very, very sweet. But again, because there are so many kittens that people are drawn to, these guys get overlooked. And, an important thing to remember is that kittens are only a kitten for a period of time. Eventually they're going to turn into adult cats too. And if there's something very specific in terms of behavioral or personality traits that you're looking for, one of the ways to guarantee that you're going to get that is to adopt a cat that already has those traits. So that you're going to get the cat that you can carry around or is going to sit on your lap and things like that. So yes, kittens can be super fun, but if you're adopting a cat like Croy, he's only a year old. He's going to be with your family and your children for their entire childhood as well. If you're interested in this curious and active little guy, you can go to visit fcac.as.me to book an appointment to meet him. Normally we have a lot of large terriers on our show. So I did want to showcase one of our new additions, which is a dog that's a little bit smaller. This is Anna Marie, and she is our 2-year-old dachshund mix. And, obviously she's adorable. She's got that great ticking on her. She's got a great, look, definitely a standout. And she's sure to get a lot of attention just because she is something that's a little bit smaller of a dog. We behavior assess all of our adults, cats and dogs, and her assessment is pretty good. She's very friendly, as you can see. She's very social. She's full of energy, which is not not uncharacteristic of her breed, right? But we did note that she can be a little bit shy, and hesitant, wary of loud noises and things like that. So just keeping that in mind, a lot of dogs have that issue, especially with thunderstorms and fireworks and just crazy loud. You dropped a pan in the kitchen. All of those things can kind of startle them. And she's a dog that we've seen some of those traits with. But she reacts favorably to the other dogs. She's easy to walk for the most part. She's easy to get leashed up. And she likes to be petted, and she enjoys affection, which is what most people want from their dog, especially a smaller dog.
So you mentioned that people will probably be interested because she's a smaller dog. We don't get a lot of smaller dogs, but what should people know about her breed? So
first off, she was able to successfully just jump up on your lap, but because of their legs and the length of their back, sometimes it can be harder for them to jump up on things. So it might mean you have some ramps. I have a friend who always has dachshunds, and they always have like little ramps or little steps so that they don't jump from the floor to the couch. And you have to be mindful that they're burrowing animals, so they want to stick their nose in holes that they see. That's what they're bred for, to kind of go into those holes and pull out moles and things like that. But having blankets for them to burrow in, that's what they really enjoy. That's what makes them comfortable. But most importantly, from a medical standpoint, is making sure that their backs are safe. So a lot of people who have smaller dogs, especially if you're not familiar with the breed, you want to pick up the small dog and you want to cuddle it and carry it around. You have to be very mindful of how you pick these guys up because of their back, and making sure that they're getting the appropriate support so that they don't have injuries down the line, because it is a common thing with their breed. But regardless of what kind of dog you're adopting, especially if you're not familiar with the breed, just do a little bit of research. Different breeds have special needs. Some of them are more into scents, and some of them are more into they need a lot more exercise, or they're more prone to certain medical problems or behavioral things. So just making sure that you have an understanding of what you're signing up for, and that they're an animal that's going to fit your lifestyle as well. But if you think that Anna Marie is going to be a good fit for your household, the first step is going to be making an appointment to meet her. And you can go do that by going to visit fcac.as.me. Our next guest is Luna, and another breed that we get a fair amount, but is, not our typical. This is a Husky mix, and she's about 2.5 now, and she is a dog that may seem familiar because she has been here at the shelter before. She was adopted from us about 2 years ago as a much younger dog, and unfortunately, the owner didn't have enough time for her needs. And so she's back here with us where we're looking for another family that will hopefully be more suitable for her and her needs and things like that. She is a beautiful dog. She's got the great husky blue eyes. She has, a very active personality, and she has learned some things in her absence from us here. And, she came back and, she knows sit and she knows down, and she's very treat motivated and willing to do those things for you. But she is still in that kind of adolescent phase where she still needs a lot of work. She needs to have those boundaries enforced. You need to make sure that she's, walking nicely on a leash, because she can pull a little bit like most of our dogs. But she's very affectionate, very friendly. But she just needs a household that, understands her breed needs, as we were discussing with Anna Marie. And just, her individual needs are going to be really important. But she does well with the other dogs. And we don't have any, restrictions on the type of home in terms of, age of children and things like that, that she would be looking for.
So based on her activity, energy level, what kind of home might be best suited for her?
So definitely a family that's going to be very active. She's not a dog that's going to do well, like as a couch potato, part of a couch potato family, right? Like she wants to go hiking and running around in the yard and exploring and, maybe getting her into other, dog related sports, whether, fly ball or agility or whatever those things to kind of keep her mentally and physically stimulated are going to be excellent. Even just having a fenced in yard where you can throw the ball and have her run around and engage her in that way is going to be, super important and valuable for her, but also taking into consideration her breed. Huskies are meant to live in colder weather. So when it's really hot, like it's been here, that's not going to be the best time to have her out. So finding ways to get her out early in the morning, later in the evening, give her a lot of mental stimulation indoors, but then also understanding that when it's colder, when you might not want to be outside, this kind of a dog thrives in that environment, and they want to be out rolling around in the snow and things like that. So again, like we've mentioned with many other dogs, thinking about your lifestyle and is the dog going to fit into what you're actually looking for, not just, I think it's a beautiful dog and I'd like to have it as part of my family. Because we would like to see Luna, formerly Minnie, find a stable home and be in there for an extended period of time, especially since she is still a young dog. And if you think that you can give her that stable, active, loving environment, then you're going to visit fcac.as.me is going to be the way to start that whole process. We're kind of working our way in reverse. We started with an older cat, got younger, started with younger dogs, worked our way up, and now we have an older dog, although his level of energy might not indicate that he's a little bit older. This is Midnight, and he is about 5 to 6 years old, and as you can clearly see, he's a bit of a puller on the leash, which is why he's kind of choking himself. So, straight out the gate, he needs to work on, his polite leash walking and things like that. Maybe better suited to wearing a harness, as a lot of the pit bull type dogs are. Not only does it help prevent them from hurting their necks if they're pulling on things, but because there are some stereotypes and people have fear of them, it does give people a sense of security that maybe the owner has more control of their dog, as opposed to just being on a leash and collar or a slip lead or something like that. He is a very fun dog, obviously enjoys toys, is treat motivated. He's your typical type of pit bull, right? Like he's just like fun and goofy, but also likes to like lounge around. And like a lot of pit bulls, he does have some skin issues, some allergy things that he's being treated for. Not anything that's super overwhelming, but something that a potential adopter is going to want to keep an eye on. A lot of our pit bull type dogs are on Benadryl here or other, allergy related medications like Apoquil, things like that, to make sure that their skin is not super itchy and uncomfortable for them. And sometimes it's seasonal, and sometimes it's, a year-round thing, but just something to, read through his his medical and keep in mind. He was an owned animal, but we don't necessarily have a ton of information about him because he did, like a couple of other dogs on the adoption floor right now, come to us as part of, a case with our ACO officers. We're, even though we know he was owned, we're still learning kind of about him and his personality. But he's in our first kennel, which is the greeter kennel, which does say a lot about his temperament, that he can kind of be in that first space, especially since we don't typically put a lot of pit bull type dogs in that kennel.
So we recently had a dental. Can you tell
Yes.
us about that? So we recently had a dental. Can you tell us about
dentals are
that?
something that we do a fair amount here. We see a lot of cats and dogs come in, and it can be an expense, but it is something that's very common. As animals age, tartar and things build up on their teeth. Those things can cause infection or pain. Sometimes, in the case with this guy, he had to have bad teeth pulled. Just like we would maybe need to have a cavity filled. They just kind of pulled out some of those teeth. And fortunately, we have Focus, which is our nonprofit affiliated group, and they pay for a lot of those surgeries for us. We can't always guarantee that those things are going to get done for animals before they leave our facility, but as often as they can, schedule it and get it in there, they do take care of those things. So that's why, it can be really helpful for people to donate to that group, because they do pay for things like dentals for animals that are in need of those things, or board and train or toys or special things that those animals need. So we thank them for taking care of this for Midnight, on our behalf and for his, potential new family. But also, if you're interested in supporting us, that is another way that you can do that by supporting Focus. If you are interested in meeting with Midnight and seeing if he's going to be a good fit for your family, you can go to visit fcac.as.me to start that process. We hope that you enjoyed meeting some of our adoptable animals. As is always the case, we have plenty more that we just can't show you all of them. So if you haven't seen something that you think is going to be a good fit for your household, make an appointment anyway, because you never know what you're going to find here at Animal Control.